There we go. Let's get Facebook in here and we can start the show. Rocking and rolling. We got Facebook going. 1 and 2. All right. Welcome in. It is January 6th, 2026, 6:06 p.m. Mountain Time. It's time for an episode of Building the Broncos. Carl, these Broncos are built. Man, I don't know what to say. First number 1 seed, 14 wins this season. God bless. There's always tweaking to do. I love Sean Payton, a little bit of a curmudgeon there, but man, what a time. You and I have been together for a long time covering this team. I mean, I think since prior to the 2017 Bulls draft. And man, there's been, there's peaks and valleys, but there's been way more valleys. I hate to always like talk about how rough it's been in front of Scott in the background, because like covering the Falcons, it's a different world. But man, I'm just so happy to be here. Number 1 seed. What a carefree, easy weekend. This might be the best weekend of football of the entire year. Everything is an island game, and you got Thursday night through Monday night. Perfect.
I am so looking forward to just sitting and watching football and not caring. Honestly, I don't think I care a whole lot who wins, who loses. I mean, there's some matchups I'm a little bit more worried about than others, I would say, of course. But when I look at this AFC pool, like the one team I don't want to play is Jacksonville right now. And we won't be, there's no chance of us playing them no matter what.
Yeah.
So the other, the 4, 5, 6, 7 seed, all of those teams, I'm going, yeah, I like our chances against them. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just going to be fun to sit back, relax, and just have a week off and enjoy watching these other fan bases go into panic mode. It's really been funny to watch Patriot fans go into meltdown mode of, we're the number 2 seed, we're this great team, and, all those kind of things. And so if they lose, it's going to be fun to kind of watch that meltdown. At the same time, Chargers, of course, they live in misery, and it would be fun to see them be like, oh yeah, we get this great matchup against the Broncos if we win this week, and then they don't win. It's like, well, see you later. So
yeah, did you see that Tony Jefferson yelling at the camera while leaving the stadium?
Something saying, like Broncos suck.
Broncos suck. We'll beat them in 2 weeks or whatever it is. I mean, God bless it. I mean, I love the fire. I don't fault him for that. I know some people will get mad about that, but like, it's like, doesn't really matter that he said that. And it brings a little bit of fun to it as well. And I think Alex Singleton did an interview at DNVR today. I don't know if you caught that as well. I always like to hear when the players have to talk, whether it be press conferences or interviews, and talked about wanting to play wouldn't be upset against the Chargers again, but the team the Broncos really want to play is the Jags. Yeah. So understandably, I mean, you play whoever's in front of you and you got to beat them, but I'm excited to watch this team, but a really great stress-free week of football coming up here. Let's say hello. Speaking of stress-free, in the chat, we got String Guy coming in. I think a lot of people don't understand is Peyton wants long, sustained drives that burn a lot of clock. He seems to like low-scoring defensive games for the first 3 quarters. I don't know. Honestly, I like what you're saying, String Guy. And like, obviously, possessing the football is good, but I think that if explosive plays were there to be had constantly and touchdowns like every drive, he'd get them. Like I don't think it's Sean Payton's master plan to like have a long sustained drive and not score a touchdown, right? Yeah. So like perfect football is kind of like the Alabama Crimson Tide under Nick Saban when they were at their total dominance, and like every single drive is really long and sustained, and then you're scoring touchdowns at the end, and you're just possessing the football and taking the will out of your opponent on both sides of the ball. Like that, to me, maybe I'm old school to that sense, but I don't think Sean Payton, the last 2 games have been his ideal sense of football overall. It's just been somewhat vanilla play calling and playing not to lose, which to their credit, they didn't and they couldn't, right for who they were playing. But there's plenty of things to improve on and get better on.
Yeah, and that's the part there that I'm trying to balance in my head. Like I said, they've been playing very vanilla, not trying to give too much away. Because the Broncos have been so good in the red zone under Sean Payton, they haven't always been great about getting long drives until like the last 5 weeks. But when they got into the red zone, it seemed like they did score touchdowns. So the fact that they've been settling for field goals makes me believe that he's not calling his best red zone plays, that he is saving some of those And it's not like other teams haven't watched those plays before, but the less they're on film, the more teams have to go back 4 or 5 weeks to watch, hey, how is this team going to play? What are they going to try to do? The better it is of how much teams have to prepare for things. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. And like I said, it's more they understood only way we lose these games is give up explosive plays, turnovers, something happens on special teams, those kind of things. And so if we just play turnover-free football, control the clock, we're probably coming out with a win. And it's not pretty. I know people have been frustrated. Like my kids were like, Dad, because they were gone this weekend. They said, can we watch the Broncos game? And part of me wanted to say, not really, because it wasn't that exciting. I think you're going to be a little bit not bored to tears, but like it wasn't the most exciting game that we've ever watched together.
I mean, a defensive touchdown, turnover +2,
that's
like
true.
You were 2 flips of the red zone drives away, scoring 7 instead of 3 from beating the absolute tar out of that Chargers team. Now, granted,
right.
Trey Lance looked horrible. Delete all my Trey Lance takes coming in the draft because I wanted an athlete really bad at the quarterback that's built like him. But those are games it's hard to get up for even. I mean, it's because they were so talent rich compared to their opponent. And I mean, it looked like it on the field too. All the advanced stats, Denver beat the absolute heck out of the Chiefs and the Chargers. They just didn't capitalize on all the opportunities, which gonna have to in the playoffs.
Right. And I listened to a little bit of the Singleton interview earlier, and he talked about that. They've been a little bit frustrated that they didn't get the best of the last 2 teams, and that they're excited to finally play the number 1 team, the starters whenever whoever they play next. And I appreciate hearing that. I do worry a little bit that they've kind of gotten into this lull because they haven't had to play. It's not that they haven't played meaningful football.
There just haven't been stakes, real stakes for both teams. Right, with the other team, the intensity hasn't been ratcheted up.
Right, and so I do worry about that just a little bit. Of all of a sudden you go from not a guaranteed win, but a pretty much 99% of the time you're going to win that game. And then all of a sudden, boom, here you are, Houston, Pittsburgh, whoever, and they're bringing their absolute best in that game, coming off a wild card victory. So there's a little bit of worry there for me. But at the same time, Sean Payton has done a great job of having this team ready when they absolutely need to be ready. He's the mastermind of pushing the right buttons at the right time. So I'm not too worried about it, but it's still, it's just such a weird AFC this year because I could make a case for all 7 teams of why they should make it to the Super Bowl. Maybe the Chargers, just because they're going to have to go on the road for 3 straight wins.
Yeah.
I doubt that that's going to happen, especially with that offensive line. But the other 6, I'm going, Bills, you got Josh Allen. It would not shock me to see him go 3
straight games. You don't mean it about the Steelers, though, right?
No, I really don't. But at the same time, they've had some big wins this year, too.
Yeah.
They've played good against some good opponents. So I'm not going to completely dismiss them. But at the same time, if there is a team I'd like to play in the AFC divisional round, it would be Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers, there was a play against the Ravens where he took off running. And it looked like he could just run for an easy first down. And then all of a sudden, his gas tank just went down to 0. And he just was just barely jogging along, and the defense caught up to him. I'm like, yep, that would be fun for our defense to have a quarterback that cannot run against them.
I mean, we've all looked like that before, though, right? At that
That's
point.
true.
We got Papa Bear coming in saying, good evening, Broncos country, $2 super chat. Also a member. Make sure you guys are becoming a member. Thank you so much, Papa Bear. Appreciate you so much. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a great start to 2026. And again, have a very kick up your feet. Enjoy this relaxing week of football. We also got George Fox coming in over on Facebook. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, make sure you click the thumbs up, heart react. We got a wow react coming in from Phil McLaughlin. I love you, Phil. Good. Hope you're doing well. He says, do any of you guys think the Ravens coach could end up with the Raiders? Anything's possible, I guess. John Harbaugh is going to be really sought after. We actually talking about it before the show kicked off. The Raiders are pretty cash poor, if that matters to any extent. They're going to be paying $50 million, I think, this year for coaches that aren't coaching, which is mean, God bless them. Good for them. They built a team where they don't even have to be good to sell tickets because people fly into Vegas for nothing and get hotels for cheap to go. But yeah, that's I think the Raiders are probably low unless he's absolutely in love with working with Tom Brady and Mendoza. But that team, I mean, even though they have the number 1 pick and I think they have 10 picks in this draft, that offensive line is probably at least 2 off seasons away. Still, like it takes some investment. Like the offensive line typically is a slow burn. It can fall apart quickly, but to build it takes some time normally. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with them. But I think Scott's mentioned the Giants. Maybe he's just guarding himself. I'm trying to manifest John Harbaugh to the Falcons because Arthur Blank has a lot of money and the South is obviously up for grabs. And that's a pretty good defense. The Falcons have some good pieces out there. So we'll see what happens. But Raiders have pieces too, and maybe the allure of working with Tom Brady would be good. That being said, maybe Harbaugh doesn't want that many cooks in the kitchen. Maybe he wants a little bit more say where you're not going to have final say with Tom Brady in there with how much he's doing. But we'll see.
Yeah, I debated this earlier with somebody because they were talking about they think that he's going to the Raiders. And I said, one, I really don't think he wants to go play against his brother twice a year, every year. You know, it's kind of like Peyton Manning when he was going into free agency. He looked at a couple NFC teams, but for the most part, he was looking AFC.
He was looking hard at coming back to Harbaugh, he was looking hard at the 49ers. Do you remember the weird machismo going on with like throwing the football and Harbaugh started to throw it like hard, like trying to like test him? Like it was a weird thing. Jim Harbaugh's a weird guy. Good coach, but odd dude.
I'm not saying that he wouldn't have gone to the NFC if it was the best opportunity, but I do think that played into it. And like I said, with Raiders, you've got pretty much 2 owners that are both going to try to have a voice with Tom Brady as one of those owners. And then of course their main owner,
Mark Davis.
You've got, Mark Davis. You've got Spytek that he's going to want to keep his power as much as he possibly can as GM. You have a very depleted roster. Like, yes, you have a lot of draft picks. Yes, you have a lot of free agency cash. You got the number 1 pick, but you've got to build the offensive line, the defensive line. Your best defensive lineman might not even want to be there next year with how upset he is. You don't have much of a secondary. Like, you've got a few nice pieces. I'm not trying to say they're completely depleted. Like Bowers is great. Genty could be a really nice weapon, but there's just so much to rebuild. And then you talk about being in the AFC West. You've got Kansas City that's been the face of the NFL for the last 6-7 years.
Not anymore. I'm sorry.
That's right. King has been dethroned. You got Broncos now, number 1 seed in the AFC. You've got Chargers who have made the playoffs, have a very, very stable situation there as well with his brother and Herbert as their 1-2 punch. So I just think the AFC West, it's going to be tough to figure out how you're going to find success here. Even if you build a good team, it's still going to be tough to build a perennial successful team year in, year out. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying it's an uphill battle. And then you throw in, they've had 5 coaches in 5 years. Like, do you really want to walk into that?
Right?
Yep.
Oh my God. Sorry, that's just, let that breathe for a second. 5 coaches in 5 years. Talk about the pit of misery. That's pathetic. I mean, they had to, like, this go around, especially the nepotism going on with Carroll. But man, that is, how can you build anything when you're firing coaches like that?
Yeah. So like I said, it's just kind of a weird thing. But I just, that's a situation I'd probably stay away from. It's not the worst situation of all the openings, but it's not one of my top 2 or 3 for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's one of my top 2 and 3 every day of the week, Carl.
What's that?
Pizza.
Ooh, good choice. Yeah, guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site that I can order from all the time where you can get the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants all across the U.S. And it's perfect for game day, Valentine's Day, or anything else you have going on. Guys, this is seriously amazing. Goldbelly will ship you iconic Chicago deep dish pizza from Lou Malnetti's, the original buffalo wings from the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, Guy Fieri's unbelievable trash can nachos, real Philly cheesesteaks, or even the legendary Franklin's barbecue straight from Texas to your door. And with Valentine's Day coming up, they also have great gifts like award-winning dinners from Pete Luger Steakhouse, world-famous macaroons from La Durée, and even the exact cake served at JFK's wedding to Jackie O.
I'm thinking of that Illuminati's pizza. That sounds great. The Philly cheesesteak caught my eye personally, and it was absolutely delicious. It was high quality grub delivered to my door, and it lived up to the lofty expectations I had in the legend of the Philly cheesesteak. It was like having a culinary piece of Philadelphia shipped to me hassle-free. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get quality-wise from online food ordering sites, but Goldbelly absolutely delivers. This tasted amazing. So whether you're looking to turn game day into an unforgettable experience with friends or want to impress a loved one on Valentine's Day, go to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code MILEHIGH. That's goldbelly.com, code MILEHIGh for 20% off your first order. So shout out to them. I'm hungry. I have not eaten yet. I'm going to have to check out Goldbelly for even more after this. Let's say hello to some more folks coming in here. Got another super chat coming in here from the Wow React, Phil McLaughlin. It says, good evening, Nik, Carl, and Deacon Scott. Sorry, Nik. I had a question, but I didn't type it up. Any report on Bowles? As far as I heard, Bowles' ankle was swollen quite large, looked painful following the game, but he went back out there, and at his locker post-game, he said that they already had people at his house waiting for him to start the physical therapy treatment for him. And he said, paraphrasing, but come hell or high water, he's going to be playing in the playoffs. So 13 days, 14 days, 12 days, Saturday, Sunday, I don't know what it's going to be. He has 2 weeks to get ready. He's going to play. And Crum played admirably in his stead, but you're going to want Garrett Bowles, who's in the all-pro conversation this season at left tackle, to be there. So sounds like he's going to be good. The one who is, I haven't heard much about that I'm worried about is PJ Locke. Not that Locke is like a Garrett Bowles level player, but you're picking at the same position here multiple times. So you're getting down. And Key played also admirably as well. But hopefully everybody's healthy out there. And Forsyth joined the game again, as well as Bowles. So you got 2 weeks. You can kick your feet up, mentally take reps, right? You want to do that. But hopefully everybody's healthy for the divisional round.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, just talking injuries, like J.K. Dobbins, he was interviewed. Some people were talking to him there at the stadium, and they said, hey, you're going to be back for the Super Bowl? And he said earlier. Now, a player is always going to talk that way. You know, it's still going to come down to the doctors saying you can go. But I have that slim hope that AFC Championship game, maybe he could be back. And if we're playing the Jags, that run defense, you need a guy that has good vision, can actually go out there and make that kind of impact. So that would be great if he can be back. Of course, Brandon Jones, that's the game he could come back, as AFC Championship. That would be a big one as well. You know, I think of, it was the Jaguars game. 50% of the passing targets either were against PJ Locke or Riley Moss. 50% in that game.
Oh my God. Carl, I'm going to have to cut you off. 50% of my entire life is dependent on Chris Hernandez at this point. $200 super chat. That's a great stat, Carl, but even a better stat is $200 coming in from Chris. Oh my God. He said, I kept missing the show during the holidays. Broncos for breakfast is way too early for me, but I finally made it. Here's to a happy new year and go Broncos. That's okay, Chris. We appreciate you. Not everybody can join at the early time, but this is a Merry Christmas. That is a unbelievably generous super chat, and Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Happy Broncos miss. God bless you and go Broncos. This is really, really generous. So appreciate you, Chris. Hope you're doing well. You've been talk about Carl and I being here for a long time as well. Chris has been here since like the first freaking live stream and coming in with super chats like that.
Nik cut out there for a second. But yeah, I just want to continue that thought as well. Chris, thank you so much for that super chat. You have, I mean, you know, but it just means the world to us to get this kind of support. And like I said, you've been here from the good old days of going through the tough times and sticking with us through that. So now getting to celebrate the good times, you know, it really has been such a, Nik and I came in at the worst time possible in Broncos history. Maybe the early years, the very beginning when they were just terrible. But for us, this 10-year stint has been terrible. But at the same time, what has made it worth it is going through it with all of you guys, and especially you, Chris. So again, appreciate that. Thank you for the support. And I'm glad you got to catch us tonight for sure. And I see so many other people here in the chat as well. We've got other big time supporters. Patrick coming in saying aloha. Always appreciate that. Good to see Richie Rich coming in. And I haven't seen you here for a while, so good to see you. It's been a hot minute for sure. And I'm trying to think of some others that I've seen that have been here for a long time. And I got Paul. Yeah, forgot. Yeah, Paul coming in here saying, "Oh, geez, hello, my friends. Good to see you, Paul, and appreciate to have you come in and support us once again." Like I said, you guys have been here since the very beginning, and I'm sure that there's many others in here. I'm sorry if I'm missing. There's just a lot of comments, and so trying to get to everything and to everybody, always a little bit tough to do. But hopefully we got Nik coming back in. Maybe he's got his internet figured out, and we can continue this talk of what's going on with the Broncos. And yeah, Patrick's saying now he can pay his internet. Hopefully, Nik, that's where your money's got to go now. And we'll see if we can get him back in here. But guys, I did want to talk a little. We got some other things going on here with the Broncos this week. We've got Vance Joseph being one of those guys that he is become a very big name in the head coach circles and what's going on. We know of at least 4 interviews that he's going to be doing. And I'm not sure if he'll have more than that as more openings have happened. And obviously some major things have changed. John Harbaugh being on the market kind of changes the whole dynamic and just the Baltimore job being open of who gets to go there, who they're going to have kind of their pick of the litter when it comes to which coach they want. Any coach going in has an automatic, you've got your quarterback figured out. You've got an MVP level quarterback and a very good organization around you. One that doesn't fire coaches just because of one kind of rough year. They gave Harbaugh quite the leash to work with. And obviously he did well. So I'm not trying to take away from him, but that was an organization that trusted him for a very long time. So Vance Joseph, I love and hate this. Like I love it for the coach. I love that he has put in this work. He has fought through some very difficult times. I hate to bring it up, but the 70-point game against Miami a couple years ago. And everybody was calling for him to be fired. And now he is one of the hottest names in coaching circles. And so the fact that he was able to go in front of the media, talk about how he messed up, he took real responsibility for that moment. And I think that plays a big part of being able to support him in this kind of place and to see him be a leader of men, a leader of the players, a leader of coaches. And honestly, here in Denver, he did not get a fair shake as a head coach. I love John Elway, but there were some times where it kind of felt like he was a little bit more of a control freak than he needed to be. So he was hiring a first-time head coach in Vance Joseph. And pretty much when he came in, he told Vance, "Hey, we want you, but we are going to pick your staff for you." And to me, that's like one of the worst things you can do. To me, if you are bringing in a head coach, you allow them to sink or swim by their ability. Like you're hiring them for a reason. Hey, welcome back.
I don't know. My internet's been so good for a long time. I feel like, I see the jokes in the chat, but it's been, I'm connected to the Ethernet. It just must have blipped for a second. It is really windy where I'm at right now. So thank you for holding down the fort for a second. I saw all of a sudden, I think Scott kicked me for good reason. But again, Chris Hernandez, bless you. That's where I was at. That's to recap what I was saying. But go ahead. You're talking about VJ?
Yeah. I was just talking about his journey to getting to this kind of point of going from, fired from Denver. And I really don't think that was all on him.
No.
You didn't find a coach. You didn't find a quarterback, for one. That doesn't help. He didn't have his own staff picks. I just think there was a lot of things working against him. And then you throw in, he's coming in after the Broncos have one of their best 4-year stretches in NFL history for any team. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you got to go do the same thing. First-time head coach without a quarterback. You don't have the Hall of Famer Peyton Manning helping cover up any kind of mistakes that happen. And it was just set up for failure. But then you talk about the fact, like I said, first year here in Denver, pretty much being told like, hey, you're going to run the last team's scheme. Even if it's not what you like to run, you're going to run this. And then he gives up 70 points. And I kind of love, this is where, Sean Payton's sticking with him, for one. Yes. And two, after that, kind of going, okay, you know what? You do what you want to, like, you go run what you're going to run. I'm going to trust you with this. And really pivoting as that season went on. And while it wasn't the best defense by any means, you saw the improvements as the year went on. And then last year, for most of the year, being a top 5 defense till the last about month, and then everything kind of fell apart. There were some injuries and stuff. And then this year, I mean, obviously, like, Broncos were chasing the sack record. And they didn't really have, you and I've talked about this. They have a bunch of Robins. Zach Allen, I guess you can call a Batman.
Bonitto's close too. Like, you're talking about, like, they don't have Hall of Fame. They have one Hall of Famer on the defense.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's go ahead.
Well, and that's again a showing of his ability to get the best out of all these guys. Bonitto, to see his growth over these last few years, Cooper as well, Zach Allen to really get into that now top 5 defensive lineman talk, JFM, the seasons that he's been able to have here in Denver. You talk about the secondary, Brandon Jones coming in. He was not a full-time starter before he came to Denver. He started some games there for Miami, but he wasn't hey, this is a true blue big-time starter. And all of a sudden he comes here. He has a great season. And now you got Fufunga in the building as well, having the season he is.
He's another Pro Bowler. It should be, like, caliber. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, like Riley Moss, yes, he's had his ups and downs. But I'd say you've gotten the most out of him. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, just like I said, just the entire defense, looking at it and how they've gone from last year, ESPN saying that they had the worst roster in football.
Was it ESPN or was it PFF?
I can't remember. One of them had it as the second worst. Yeah. Either way, whichever it was. And for them to really have that flip of a switch like that. And like I said, for this year. So I'm happy for VJ to go get these opportunities. I really hate this is happening right when we're in the middle of our playoff run. I get that they have a few days to go do the interviews with, Peyton's giving them a couple days off, but it's still taking away. Like, your mind is focused elsewhere instead of here at the playoffs. And I'm just thinking back to the 2014 season where Del Rio, Adam Gase,
yeah,
both those guys were getting interviews, and it just, when it came to the divisional round, it just felt like the Broncos were not in it. There was no passion. There was no excitement. There was no great game plan. I just was very disappointed when that looked like a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yeah, I sometimes have a hard time with, putting that much on a single game, because, like, so much randomness can happen in a single game, right? Like, so it's like, oh man, because they got too much rest, they lost that game. Well, a single game, things can happen. One reason Peyton emphasized so much how important getting the bye was because one game variance can occur. So I don't know. I've never really bought in too much to that. It's just kind of people looking for reasons to point to other than you just got beat in that game and it just didn't fall your way, which football, I'll say it 1,000 times on the show, it's a chaos sport. It's why it makes it so good. It's the perfect equilibrium matchup of any sport that's out there. But for Vance Joseph, I honestly don't mind too much that he's doing this right now. Like, the players have off until Friday, right? And what are you talking about? A 2-hour interview? Who's he preparing for? Who's he getting matchups ready for? All 4 teams that they could play next week? No, I don't know. I don't mind it too much. I think it's these are champagne problems, right? If you have a good organization, talk about having to replace these coaches long-term. I mean, it's better than having to fire your staff and having to fill everybody out every time. So I don't really mind it too much. Now, if they lose and the defense comes out flat, there'll obviously be people who will point fingers at Vance Joseph or the defense, but you hope that you have enough leaders in that room, both the players and the coaches wise, that you understand what an opportunity that this is. And he is still intelligent enough, well-rounded enough as a coach and a person that he can prepare for an interview. I mean, he's been preparing for him for a while. He's done it before, right? As well. So I don't really think it takes away from the Broncos personally this upcoming season. Now, if he had to interview and they're playing a game this upcoming weekend where we knew who our opponent was, that's one thing. But the fact that the players aren't even going to be there until Friday as well, like if he does an interview on, what is it, a 1 hour, 2 hour Zoom preliminary interview before they bring him in. Good for him. I think that's nothing but a good thing for Sean Payton, Vance Joseph, and the Broncos team. I mean, obviously you could do some self-scouting, but you also want to have these people be put in positions to be promoted and achieve and grow in their careers. So I think it's a good thing, honestly, for the Broncos organization. Obviously for Vance Joseph, but for the Broncos organization as a whole.
Right. And I like that they changed the rules where now those coaches are not flying out during the bye week to go do these interviews and flying all over the country.
Yeah.
Right now he's scheduled for 4 interviews where now they have to do them over Zoom or whatever. So it's not as taxing on the guy where he's having to go do all of this. And pretty much it's like 4 days of big time interviews and things like that. So it's not as big of a deal. I just, like I said, it always makes me a little nervous when somebody's kind of being split between 2 worlds. Of okay, now I got to start preparing for possibly being a head coach and figuring out a staff and what are we going to do, and yet I'm still over here preparing for a Super Bowl run. And so I just, like I say, just that little bit makes me a little bit nervous, but at the same time, like you said, it's good for the Broncos. It's good for when you bring in replacement coaches where you can point to and say, hey, look, we got people promoted. We got people moved to head coach positions, offensive coordinator. There's a lot of people talking Davis Webb might be moving to a team here in a little bit. And so, those kind of things, I think it only helps you in recruiting the next batch of coaches. This is a place that you get promoted. And we got William coming in saying, if VJ leaves, I hope he goes to the Giants. It'd be a great pairing. Him having that kind of defensive line to work with. Also having pretty much his quarterback. I'm a little torn on that a little bit with Dart. I think he is a good quarterback, but I really worry about his longevity in the NFL.
It's the Jaden Daniels effect, all right? Jaden Daniels built like a stick, but protect yourself, buddy. You're talented. You don't got to play every single game like it's John Elway helicopter against the Packers in Super Bowl 32. Protect yourself. Live to fight another down. I'm with you. I do want to say hello to a bunch of people in here. Daniel Berry Sports, good to see you. Happy Tuesday. William was in the house. Great to see you, William. MBLE X Test Prep. I'm here to party. String Guy, good to see you. Mile High Dutchy says hello, everybody. VJ may be gone. Just like the players, next man up. I mean, it's good problems to have for this team. So maybe we'll be covering a defensive coordinator search to some extent. Vanderoff coming in says I don't want to play the Chargers again. Good to see you. Jordan Lewis, evening, everybody. Appreciate you. And good to see you, Jordan. Mile High Dutchy is Albert Knoppers, of course. So appreciate, of course, our guy, Albert Knoppers. Carl, have you been to Amsterdam before? Or, doing the bike tour there was one of my favorite things I've ever done in my life. What a beautiful, beautiful country. Appreciate you, Albert. Hope you're doing well. Ernie Mays is in the house. We got Keith in here too, of course. Doug coming in. Appreciate you, Doug. Roy Osborne, Bowles, Miners, McGlinchey, Forsyth. Hopefully injuries are okay. I know what you're talking about, Roy. Roy's messaged me a few times. He's real excited to come back out for the Mile High Huddle meet and greet next season. Maybe that'll be a Super Bowl champion team we're coming to watch then. That would be awesome. Either way, they're going to be AFC West champions. So Leroy also always coming in, helping us out, saying hello. Says good evening. Broncos can get their running game going. We're going hard. We're going to be hard beat. Can't put the whole game in Bo Nix's hands. We have to be balanced on offense for us to have a big shot to go to the Super Bowl. Can't afford to be one-dimensional. Looking forward to getting Ingram and Bryant the ball more. Oh, man, this is a little bit of a give and take in this last game, Carl, for me, because the Broncos did something I've been banging the table for all season, but they also lost their one thing I depended on the most. They took the ball away. They scored a defensive touchdown. I mean, I've been pissing and moaning about that since week 6, the takeaways. I mean, every single week I'm like, they're not an elite defense if they can't take the ball away. Elite defense scores points, but you can't take the ball away. You're not good enough. Sean Payton's also been saying that, so I feel a little vindicated there. Obvious for anybody who looks at the numbers and watches football. But the offensive line falling apart this week, that honestly is my one game sample size red flag, because Jesse Minter, he must have their number for whatever the scheme is, because offensive line looked like absolute trash. And that's been the one thing I could depend on this season.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It's weird. the Broncos this year have 2 games where they allowed more than 40% pressure on dropbacks. Both of them were the Chargers games. All other teams, Houston had one that was like 35%. That's the next highest. And then all the others are 30% or lower. Yeah. So it's just such a weird, why is this the one team that bothers the Broncos?
Big picture, Carl, on this one, just like beyond the Chargers, makes me think you don't want to play the Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
I said that earlier to somebody.
Yeah, okay, because like it's the same scheme, and they are way more talented, way more talented on the defense.
Yep, that would be. I think that would be the worst Broncos matchup from the NFC.
Darnold might throw 6 picks though, so like you got that going for you as well. But their defense, bad matchup for the Broncos.
Yeah, but good matchup. Phil coming in saying, "Do you guys think we will miss a step if VJ leaves? Do you think Leonard can step right in?" I do. That Phil said that. Yeah. I think there would be a little step back. VJ is. I think he's a very good coach. I think he's underrated. And there's always going to be a transition time with some of that of trying to make sure everybody gets on the same page. And Leonard has been a good defensive coordinator at the college level.
Great.
NFL's pretty different.
He was great at Wisconsin.
Yeah, he was. Okay. Yes, he was high level top 10 defensive coordinator in college. But it's a whole different ball game in the NFL. And so the nice thing is, it's not like the Broncos are really losing a ton of talent off the defense. So he's going to get the same level of talent. I think the linebackers are going to be the big question. What are the Broncos going to do at that position? But I do think there maybe be a little bit step back, but I also think the offense is on its way up too. So I think you could handle a little bit of a step back and still be a really good team. Now, maybe Leonard does a better job with some of the secondary work of getting some of those turnovers. You know, it's an up and down thing. Like, it's a high variance thing from one year to the next. You've got a few teams that are very good, like Chicago back in the day when they had
this year. Crazy. Their defense isn't good, but they take the ball away.
But what was it called? The like Peanut Tillman punch or whatever. He was just so good. Yeah, the peanut punch was so good. That's one thing I really wish we could figure out. How did the Broncos have this many sacks? And I think this week was their very first strip sack of the season.
Carl said against Cam Ward week 1, maybe. I had him go back to fact check him. I can't remember off the top of my head, but maybe Cam Ward. I mean, rookie playing the first game. Yeah, for sure. But like, I've been screaming that all season too. Carl, like, you're hitting the freaking quarterback, swipe the ball. Like, I know they're emphasizing it in practice. Maybe it's just bad luck. It doesn't make any sense.
So that's one area that
go ahead.
The Broncos could be better next year, where they're getting more turnovers. And part of it could just be Hufanga working on catching the ball. And then we wouldn't be having these conversations if he could catch half the passes that hit his hands. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. I like Jim Leonard. There's just always that whenever you lose a good coach, how's that going to work? You know, you look at Detroit. They lost both of their coordinators. And it's not like they didn't have some good guys to possibly bring up and things like that. But there was still a drop-off.
And to that point, Carl, it's not just that coach leaving. It's who is he taking with him?
Yeah.
At that point, too. You're not just losing VJ. You're probably losing a handful of guys on this staff and on the offensive side of the ball because they've worked together as well. Mm-hmm. So, again, champagne problems. Like, if you're winning and your organization is doing what the Broncos are doing, it's going to happen, right? Teams are trying to find the secret sauce. And I'm pulling for VJ. I mean, with interviews with him, it's been obvious that he wants that opportunity and he deserves it, in my opinion. So, I think it's an if not win for him, and hopefully the Broncos and Sean Payton and what they've built here, the identity, the culture, can continue on with Vance Joseph being gone. But to answer the question, do I expect a drop-off? I do, but just because do I expect the Broncos to go a third season in a row, breaking their franchise sack record? Probably not. Attrition happens. I mean, just as you mentioned, Carl, the offense, Bo Nix, getting better, third year in this system. That's something I think we can hope on as well. But do I expect the defense to be as good again next season, especially with the coordinator change? Probably not. Granted, you can find a clip of me saying, do I expect the Broncos to break their franchise sack record again this season back in July? And I said, no way. Here we are. So you never know. Like, let's let it play out. But we'll see. But either way, I'm happy for Vance Joseph. I think he's going to do everything right, though, too, even with the interviews. be prepared for the playoffs. Mark Kennedy, good to see him. Mark says, good evening. Go Broncos. We got our guy, Richie Rich, coming in. Richie Rich has been with us since 2020. So God bless you out there in Canada. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you always coming in. We got 6763 Mark coming in as well. You're always coming in, helping us out here. Yeah, appreciate you. Oh, Carl, I'm going to, oh, man, if we do a hike together, I'm pushing it down.
I'm sorry. My kids informed me that with the new year comes a new number. Now it's 5-1.
Good for them. God bless them. We got Patrick coming in here saying aloha. Also, Paul. Paul's got a different name coming in here, but good to see you, Paul, because he says the OGs. So must be our guy, Paul. Good to see you. Also, Unique Prepping coming in says Carl and Nick. Paul giving me the hard time with my internet. That's okay. We got Mike S. What's up, Nick and Carl? Good to see you. Appreciate you. Yeah, the dog's in timeout. I'm just happy he's not licking where the sun doesn't shine, so we're going to take that as a win as well. Greg Smith, good evening, Broncos country. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you. And yeah, just I'm starting to close up shop here. Vance Joseph, do you have any spot where you hope he goes or hope he doesn't go?
Well, I mean, I would hope he doesn't go to the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't want to pull against him. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, he'd take quite a few of our coaches with him. And I do actually expect Vance Joseph, if he gets his quarterback, to be a pretty successful coach. I think he has the right demeanor that you like within a coach. I mean, and that can always change because Sean Payton, he's not the most likable guy, but he's still a good coach. And I mean, I personally loved when he went after the media a little bit this last week and kind of called them out for writing bad things about the Broncos all year. And here they are, the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
I get it. He keeps notes.
He's petty.
He's very, very petty, but he's still a good coach. But I think Vance Joseph, he's a smart guy. I think if you give him a real shot, like I said, you get him a quarterback, let him really run the things on the defense and kind of run the overall thing. I think he can do well. I do think the Giants would be a great place for him. I think that's set up well. And I think the NFC East is very wide open. Eagles, yes, they've won the division these last few years, but they struggled this year. And I'm not sure that you're going to be able to keep that band together much longer.
I'm not a Jalen Hurts believer.
Yeah. And Cowboys are, I don't know. They've got a lot of talent, but there's still a lot of missing pieces there. Washington, no clue what they're going to be. They just fired most of their staff, except for their head coach. We won't get into that.
Feel free, but happy he's not the Broncos head
coach.
I
mean, there were people that were saying, like, this was the guy that was at the top of the Broncos list, and he chose not to come here. And
thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thanks for turning us down. Worked out for us. And so, but like I said, I think that would be a good spot. I think he could have some pretty quick success with them. I think Baltimore would be a great spot as well.
It's got to be Jesse Minter, right? Like I haven't heard anything, but just like the opening being there and how good they were defensively with McDonald and Minter being there prior and knowing the culture and having the relationships, the Michigan stuff, the Baltimore stuff, like it has to be Jesse Minter, doesn't it?
I think so. I think he would be a very high on their list for sure. I don't know. There's just not a whole lot of great names this cycle.
I mean, there's one, and Baltimore fired him, but
well, yeah, okay, there is that guy. But I'm just talking like last year, you had all these big Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen,
Mike
these guys Mike Vrabel, those kind of guys that you're just like, oh yeah, I can see this. This year, it's a lot of maybe. We'll see. And like I said, I do like Vance Joseph, and I do think he could be a good head coach. But I think there's a couple of really nice openings. Like I said, I think the Giants is a good opening. I think Atlanta is a really good opening. Baltimore is a good opening. I'd say those three. And the rest of them, it's like, good luck.
Well, I'm really hoping that also the other one name to keep an eye on is Mike LaFleur, because there's been some talk that if the Packers are one and done in the playoffs, that he might be in trouble. Now, I think that would be silly, but also I think moving on from Harbaugh is a little silly too. So we'll see what plays out. Personally, I'm hoping that he goes to the New York Giants just because I really like a lot of the infrastructure they have in place. And I think that John Mora, the Mora family, is obviously it's one of the best organizations in football, despite their struggles recently, and they give their coaches a long road to succeed. I think that's a really good one. But we'll keep an eye on what positions open. I mean, you never know. Another coach might be entered back into the pool here still, because as we talked about before the show, Carl, there was 7 teams that called on John Harbaugh's agent, maybe more, per Adam Schefter. But there are only 7 openings, including the team that just fired John Harbaugh, which means that a team that has a coach is checking in on John Harbaugh. So maybe Dolphins, maybe Mike McDaniel is also added into the fray here. We'll see. Or Todd Bowles. There's also some Tampa Bay smoke there as well if they could get Harbaugh, but I think it's probably the Dolphins. But I'm hoping for the Giants, as you are as well. And maybe it comes to pass that this is a lot of hoopla for nothing, and Vance Joseph is back in Denver next season. I'm not hoping that for him. The Mara family. Did I say Mora? Mara. You're correct. Excuse me. Shout out to them because he's John Mara is fighting cancer, battling cancer right now. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Vance Joseph. But we did have one more question in here, Carl, before we get out of here. Somebody asked, who do you want to? Here we go. Jordan Lewis. Who do you guys want to see in the divisional round? I think we've talked about this a little bit. But for me, it's pretty obviously the Steelers. Their offense runs through DK Metcalf, and for Denver, when you have Surtain, just follow that guy, right? And while the Steelers' defense is good, they're old, and I think Denver can do enough to score points. So for me, I think it's pretty easily the Steelers are the team that you're hoping comes into Denver. Those wildcard teams, I don't know. I also talked a lot of bleep about the Chargers. Like I think their offensive line they don't have stars on defense, but freaking Minter seems to have an idea of what Sean Payton wants to do, and just so many unblocked rushers constantly. They can't run the ball. I don't know if I want to sniff the Chargers personally, but I'm happy that they'll have to play the Patriots before coming here anyways.
Yeah, I think Steelers, you're right. I think that's probably the matchup you want. They don't have a great run game by any means. Their offensive line is pretty good, but I think we could get some pressure. And Aaron Rodgers, he is not the Aaron Rodgers of old, of course. He's not escaping anybody. And so I think you could go a little bit more aggressive with your pass rush of how you're trying to get after the quarterback. And I think that plays better for guys like Bonitto, who really want to get around the edge instead of, I know that they've been doing this like cage rush is what they call it, where you're trying to kind of bring the pocket in on a quarterback and make them feel uncomfortable. It's not their Yeah. You can just let them loose. Say, Bonitto, go win around that edge, go hit that guy. And like I said, with DK Metcalf, that's a great matchup. I feel very good that Surtain's going to handle that just fine. And then you can design the rest of your group to handle all those other guys. And like I said, they have a good defense. I don't think it's going to be a great one by any means, that you can go do a couple things and be fine. And it's not going to be the highest scoring game by any means. You might get out of there with like a 20-17 win, but I think you can walk away and feel pretty good about that matchup. Probably the next one for me would probably be the Chargers, just because of how banged up they are. I think them coming back to Denver, I think you'd be okay in that one. Justin Herbert, it's so hard. I'm afraid if he gets that first playoff win, he's all of a sudden going to have this confidence and just go crazy. I have a little bit of worry about that. But at the same time, I do think the Denver crowd would just be going nuts for that game. And you don't have to worry about Chargers fans buying the secondary tickets.
Speaking of secondary tickets, I was like, oh, what does an AFC championship ticket cost right now? Just curious. Ticketmaster, Carl, if you had to guess, what do you think the cheapest ticket to get in the stadium would be on Ticketmaster? This was as of 3 hours ago.
$1,100?
$1,200.
$1,200. Okay.
The worst seat in the house, $1,200. So if anybody has any tickets, no. We got Big E coming in. How's everyone doing tonight? We're doing well. Better now that you're here hanging out with us. We also got Glenn coming in from down under. Says extremely warm surf coast in Melbourne today, 110. He's even converting to Fahrenheit for us. God bless you. Are you Celsius out there down under? I don't even know. Really think the Ravens are a great spot for Vance Joseph. Really happy that there's talk of Dobbins increasing his workload, maybe for the first playoff game. I think there's absolutely no chance that Dobbins is playing that first playoff game, maybe AFC Championship game, but we're on Wattenberg and Jones and Dobbins watch. But Denver's got to take care of business first. So we'll see. The team, Carl, I said this on Monday morning before we wrap it up here and get out of here. I think the team that I really like for a matchup like Denver winning, Pittsburgh's probably the one. But for like just like Broncos hurdling a team that they need to, Bills. And it's a twofer for me for this reason. Bills, because not only like they beat us last season, the Josh Allen kind of ghost that's been in Denver since they passed on him and he was right up the road in Wyoming. John Elway, did you believe his interview where he said like he wanted him, but everybody else didn't? I'm like, okay, John, I love you, John, but I don't know about that.
He showed over and over again, he didn't always care too much what everybody else thought. If he liked him, he was going to take him.
I'm a little bit, sure, John. Love you. You're my dude, but okay. But anyway, I think the Bills would be fun. And also the bonus of that one is Jags would be eliminated in that case, which the Jags, how they're playing right now. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, nobody's hotter than Trevor Lawrence right now in the NFL for quarterbacks. So we'll see. But the Bills coming to Denver would be freaking awesome. That would be a hell of a game. I'd be really excited about that.
You made me think of Zoolander. He's so hot right now.
He is so hot right now. Somebody in the chat said something like that too. So I got to give him credit. I don't know who it was, but he is. I mean, he's been just on fire. So don't quit on talent, folks, unless they're idiots, which Trevor Lawrence doesn't seem to be an idiot. But speaking for idiots, Carl, fun show today. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up here? J.K. Dobbins, hopefully back for the AFC Championship game. We'll see what happens with Vance Joseph. Good for him. Getting all these interviews, just some of the nuts and bolts of it. Denver would get 2 third-round compensatory picks for him. So they're not like Denver to get third-round picks. They're like in the hundreds, right? Like 90, 97 through 105, I think is the range, but still better than nothing, obviously, in 2026 and 2027. And those picks are tradable too. So if Denver wanted to go move up for a weapon or defensive lineman or something, day 2, up and down the board, those picks are tradable. But String Guy, how dare you doubt the Duke of Denver? John Elway's my guy. I love John. I asked him a question before where he gave me a dirty look, so I appreciate that memory as well. But, just he's going to say what he wants to say. God bless him.
All right. One final question before we get out of here.
Yeah.
Because we'd asked this last week. Now that we know where the Broncos are at, because beginning of the season, when we were putting our expectations on the Broncos, we kind of said, make the playoffs, win a playoff game. And I guess I count not having to play in the wild card round as a win.
Yep.
I mean, you get to skip a game. Yep. That's what Sean Payton said. That's the advantage of getting the bye week. And so now where we are, what would you consider to be a letdown? Do they have to win the divisional round? Or is it, hey, you've met my expectations before the season ever started. I'm good with where we're at.
I think not winning will feel like a letdown, but on the whole, it'll still be a successful season because you got that 1 seed, and I'm considering you already won your wild card game. To win the AFC West and to advance to the divisional round, right? Let's just put it that way rather than not winning a game, but you've already advanced to the divisional round. I think that's a win on the season as a whole. Now, granted, expectations change as the season progresses and we gather more information. This is not a season with Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson in the AFC. This is an opportunity, and you have the 1 seed. I mean, Denver's lost 1 game in the last, 16 in Mile High Stadium. So to not win that game would be disheartening and it would be a disappointment, but the season would still have been a success on the whole. Will it have been a missed opportunity? Maybe. Leaning towards probably. But it still has been a successful season, especially with the context of where this team was just 3 seasons ago. I mean, we were in the walls of Jericho for the lack of picks, the lack of salary cap, quarterback that you didn't like. We're not too far away from Patrick Starfish clowning us on losing 6,000-0 against the Rams, or whatever that game was on Christmas. So successful season, would be disappointing to not win a playoff game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think as time went on, and if you looked back and we lost in the divisional round, you'd still look at this season and say, okay, that was something special.
14-3.
Yeah. Winning the division when Chiefs have owned the division for 9 straight seasons. And like I said, getting the 1 seed. At this point, at least for the next month, I would be very much let down if we don't at least make it to the AFC Championship game. And like my wife was asking me this question tonight at dinner. And I said, well, I think if we make the AFC Championship game, I can be happy. And she's like, not the Super Bowl? And I was like, well, of course I want the Super Bowl. My kids are like, Dad, what are you talking about? You've got to be thinking Super Bowl. And I was like, okay, I'm back in Super Bowl mindset. Don't worry. Like, I'm trying not to let myself down because this team is, for a long time, that's where we've been. And so, like I said, I'm trying not to get too excited, but having that 1 seed, being at home, Broncos have best chance they've had in a long time to really make some noise and not only win the AFC, but possibly win the Super Bowl. So I'm trying to tamper a little bit, but I'm trying not to let it get, I'm not trying to tamper myself too much either, because this is a team to get excited about.
And we can still do that while appreciating the journey. So we'll see what happens 1 game at a time and enjoy this weekend. Like we said, to start the show, Thursday through Monday night, as good as it gets. My wife is traveling back to Iowa, so I'm going to be home alone. Luckily, the kids' bedtime is before a lot of the games, so you bet your ass. College football semifinals, wild card round, it's on the TV. Miss Rachel? Nah, buddy. Football. So I appreciate everybody coming in here. Shout out to our super chat givers today. You guys are awesome. David Mickelrath, George Fox, Phil McLaughlin, of course, come a couple times. Appreciate you. And Chris Hernandez. I mean, I almost started taking my shirt off for this one. The internet gave out. It couldn't even comprehend how good the super chat was. So appreciate you so much. Make sure you guys are following Carl and I on Twitter. Carl is at Carl Dumler, MHH. I'm at Nik Kendell, MHH. We're also at Mile High Huddle. You can check us out at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And of course, subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube, the #1 podcast platform, streaming platform, whatever it is. I mean, YouTube, they own it. So we really do appreciate if you subscribe, like, and share. Have a great one, everyone. Carl, always great to see you. What a great season it's been. Really, really excited to see for the next game. Nervous, but it's going to be great. Summit, you say goodnight? He's out. He's in dreamland. So appreciate everyone. Have a good night. Choose kindness, compassion. We'll see you again later. Go Broncos.